Everything you have been told about aging is a dangerous half-truth. It is not only age. It is your metabolic factory staying open at the wrong hour. 830 million adults now live with diabetes, and one overlooked driver may be eating too late even when the food looks clean. If you wake foggy, sleep heavy after dinner, and drag a thick body into the morning, your night shift may never be shutting down. That grogginess is not laziness. It is leftover metabolic traffic. The liver is still sorting cargo. The pancreas is still sending out the gatekeeper key called insulin. The muscle is still waiting at the loading dock. The fat tissue is still storing excess fuel. Your engine never cools. So you wake with heat in the system. Stagnation. A dull pressure behind the eyes. Then comes the 3 p.m. crash. The craving. The mental fog that feels like wet wool packed behind your forehead. Sachin Panda, Ph.D., the Salk Institute circadian rhythm researcher whose work helped drag meal timing out of fringe biohacking and into mainstream metabolic science, has spent years showing one brutal fact. Your body does not process food the same way at every hour. The clock matters. The same meal at the wrong time becomes a different biological event. His framework is simple and severe. During the right hours, your body handles incoming fuel. During the wrong hours, it is supposed to shift toward repair, cleanup, recalibration. And then another research trail appeared. Not in a wellness clinic. In cancer recurrence data. A finding turned a simple dinner habit into a clinical warning sign, and the exact threshold surprised even researchers. We will get to that number in a moment. First, you need to see why this is not about junk food alone. The problem may not be junk food at all. It may be the clock. If your food is healthy, why do you still wake up tired after eating late? Because insulin resistance driven by circadian misalignment is the real villain here. In plain language, your internal control room loses timing. The factory lights stay on all night. The conveyor belts keep moving when the maintenance crew should already be inside. The machinery overheats. The clocks drift out of calibration. Look closer. The liver is not just a passive filter. It is a night supervisor. Feed it late, and it keeps processing glucose like a warehouse forced into overtime. Blood sugar remains elevated. Insulin keeps circulating like a key jammed in the lock. Muscle tissue, which should be resting and restoring sensitivity, becomes less responsive. Fat tissue keeps receiving storage signals. Nighttime fat oxidation drops. The body burns less stored fuel and handles more incoming cargo at the worst possible hour. Inside the cell, sparks start to fly. Free radicals are biochemical shrapnel. Oxidative stress rises. Mitochondria, your power plants, do not get a clean maintenance window. They run hot. They leak. The membrane systems lose efficiency. Proteins exposed to excess glucose begin to stiffen through glycation, the internal caramelization that turns soft tissue into something more brittle, more sticky, more aged. Inflammation is not abstract. It is a smoldering fire in wiring and valves. The endothelium, the Teflon coating inside blood vessels, becomes easier to scratch. Night after night, the same late load keeps scraping the surface. And here is the branching threat. Even a healthy nighttime snack can keep the body in feeding mode when repair should begin. A bowl of fruit. A spoon of nut butter. Yogurt. Granola. Clean labels do not cancel biological timing. If the kitchen is open inside your body, the cleaning crew does not enter. Standard medicine often attacks the dashboard warning light. Lower the glucose number. Lower the pressure. Add another prescription. Sometimes that is necessary. But the pattern underneath remains. The metabolic machinery is still being forced into repeated nighttime overload. Dr. Panda's circadian framework makes this plain. The brain's master clock may know it is night, but the liver, pancreas, muscle, and fat Cells are getting a conflicting memo from your fork. Pause on this. The issue is not only what entered your mouth, but whether your organs were forced to process it at the wrong biological hour. That is why a person can eat a respectable diet and still feel heaviness on waking. Still feel stiffness. Still reach for sugar at 3 p.m. The system never completed its shutdown cycle. And once you see how this night shift overload works, one number starts to matter more than almost any superfood claim online. The number is 13. In research led by Ruth Patterson's group, women fasting less than 13 hours overnight had worse breast cancer recurrence outcomes. Read that number again. Less than 13 hours. That finding did not prove a miracle. It did something more unsettling. It suggested the overnight fasting window may be a disease-relevant biological line, not just lifestyle decoration. So the protocol is not exotic. It is a nightly fasting window of 12 to 14 hours, with an earlier dinner. That is the intervention. That is the hidden nighttime habit. Finish your last meal 3 to 4 hours before bed. Keep dinner smaller than lunch. Consume no caloric snacks after dinner. During the fasting window, use only water or unsweetened herbal tea. 13 hours is the clinically notable threshold from observational cancer data. 12 to 14 is the practical range. No false precision. Just a hard boundary between feeding and repair. Mechanically, this matters because insulin falls sooner. Glucose exposure shortens. The factory lights dim on time. The liver stops processing late cargo. The pancreas stops firing repeated insulin signals. Peripheral clocks in muscle and fat begin to realign with the brain's master timer. Fat oxidation improves. The self-cleaning protocol called autophagy gets more room to operate. Not magic. Scheduled maintenance. Cooling the engine. Clearing the line. Restoring calibration. This sounds too simple because people are trained to distrust anything that does not come in a bottle. But the evidence layers. In a randomized crossover trial published in Cell Metabolism in 2018, Sutton and colleagues found that early time-restricted feeding improved insulin sensitivity, blood pressure, and oxidative stress markers even without weight loss. That matters. No dramatic weight change. Still better metabolic control. Wilkinson and colleagues later reported benefits from a 10-hour eating window in adults with metabolic syndrome. Different design. Same direction. The clock is not a side note. Dr. Panda's work helps explain why. You are not a furnace that burns calories identically at midnight and noon. You are a timed machine. A living circuit board. Feed it against the program, and the current runs dirty. Now the protocol in concrete terms. If you sleep at 10:30 p.m., finish dinner by 6:30 or 7 p.m. If you sleep at 11 p.m., finish by 7 o'clock or 7:30 p.m. Protect a 12 to 14 hour fasting window until breakfast. If dinner ends at 7 p.m., breakfast lands between 7 o'clock and 9 a.m. depending on your target window. Keep dinner lighter than lunch. This is not cosmetic. A smaller evening load gives the machinery less sludge to process before shutdown.